Hello, today we're here with Elliott Shell, your new VP Sports elect. He's going to be telling us about his policies for the upcoming 2016-17 academic year, and we're going to get to know him a little better. Elliott, if you could just introduce yourself and your main policies for the year.
I'm Elliott Shell. I've quite a broad manifesto, but it all comes under essentially 5 kind of headings. So that would be increasing funding for sports clubs, promoting equality, improving the performance of our clubs, increasing accessibility for everyone at university to sport, as well as the final one being improving the Team Camp brand.
Cool. So you talk about increasing funding for sport, and you talked about in your manifesto, you said from getting more money from the university for it. How do you plan to do that?
Well, it just starts with meeting up with like the Vice Chancellor and the people high up at the university and like the finance department, and essentially getting more money over to the union. Like we know, for example, that they spent over £250,000 on the Kent Eye, when really, in my opinion, and I think the majority of students' opinion, would rather that money be reinvested in us than an attraction which not many people even go on.
Cool. Obviously, one of the big things in the past couple of years has been Work-Free Wednesdays, and I know you mentioned that in your manifesto as well, in terms of not having seminars, exams, or sort of anything to do with academia on a Wednesday in order to leave time for extracurricular activities. Why do you think that's so important?
In terms of sport, it's extremely important because we have essentially, like from my experience from rugby, and I know all other clubs as well, say if we're having an away game in, say, Brighton, our coach needs to leave at 10 a.m. So if someone has a lecture exam at 12, they have a seminar at 11, they then can't play that game. So essentially, say if it's like the first team playing, then obviously that guy can't play, so then their team gets weakened. But say like in the odd case, say if like the third team are playing, then they can just call a guy from the twos to come play for and help their team. But ideally, we don't want people missing out on games just because that they have like exams on the Wednesday afternoon, because essentially they've paid the same amount of money to join the society, and they're missing out because of the university's timetabling.
You mentioned the amount that people pay to join sports clubs. I mean, sitting here as the Inquirer editor, my members pay £5 for the year, and they get everything. Would you look to sort of decrease sports memberships, or do you think that they're sort of fair for what you get?
With the rugby club now, I've helped bring in close to £6,000 worth of sponsorship this year alone. Because we've brought out that amount of money, we can now reduce our subs because we don't need that money from our members. So it's about helping me personally, helping all the sports clubs on campus fundraise more for their clubs, but also bring a university-wide sponsor. So a large company like say KPMG or Deloitte regularly sponsor universities as a whole and their sports clubs, and give them like a lump sum like over £100,000. So essentially that money would go straight into the sports clubs so that they can then decrease their subscription fees, so it will cost less for their members.
Cool. You were obviously part of the men's rugby club while you were a student. You were the chairman? President? I'm never sure which it is. Obviously, with men's sports clubs in particular, but sports clubs in general, they have this rep of, you know, being lads and getting drunk all the time, and initiations are obviously a bit infamous. Would you do anything to sort of improve that image and make them,
well,
you know, you talk about increasing equality, so you know, to sort of bring more people in and make them feel comfortable.
So over the last 2 years, well 2 years ago or 3 years ago, the rugby club was like probably at its worst. It was just full of basically horrible people. Rugby lads, as you might call them, like lad culture was thriving. But the last 2 years or so, me and the old chairman, a guy named Scott, helped essentially kind of like change people's, I guess you could say, morals in the club. Essentially, like the guys now like behave very well. Like obviously we're dealing with over 100 active members. It's hard to keep tabs on all of them, but the behaviour of the rugby club alone has improved so much over the last 2 years. I hope to essentially install that behaviour amongst all the sports clubs. Like, it certainly is it was kind of with the raise of tuition fees, more people came to uni to study rather than have a good time. So that's what immediately helped with in terms of behaviour of sports clubs. But I think it's a bit of a stigma that's just going to be attached to sports clubs for years and years now, because it always will be. It's hard to just get rid of an image like that, but it's something that's just you've got to keep working at.
So how would you do it in terms of you talk about instilling it in other sports teams? Would you hold like workshops with them, or would you have like a stricter sort of penalty scheme with if people acted in?
So like with the rugby club this year, we have a guy who has suffers from mental disability, and so we kind of like held a workshop for the guys, just kind of teach them how to essentially not act around him, but how to kind of welcome him into the club and explain to them how he'll do certain things and stuff like that. So it would be kind of like the same sort of thing, like, but usually, obviously, we couldn't get over 1,000 people into a lecture theatre thing, so it would kind of be like bringing the committees, and they're essentially the role models of the club. That's what we've done with rugby, that all the committee members essentially behave exceptionally, but also are there to say if someone is misbehaving, if someone is being out of control on a Wednesday night, see like what you're doing, stop what you're doing, what you're doing is wrong. And that's what's worked for us, and I'm sure that's what will work for other clubs as well.
Cool. You're taking over from Nina, another rugby girl. What do you think is the one thing that you want to take from what Nina's done in the past 2 years and continue, something that she's maybe not finished completely?
Probably a big thing would be the free Wednesdays. I think it's what the students want the most, not just sports students, but all students. So it'll probably be keep working on that.
Cool. Another thing you mentioned in your manifesto is an on-campus swimming pool, which is obviously something that many previous sports VPs and previous sports VP candidates who haven't been elected have mentioned. How do you plan to, one, fund this, two, where are you suggesting it would go, and three, sort of, how do you actually see this being a possible thing that the university are going to agree to build?
So as far as I'm aware, they actually have now the money available, and it's through a thing called the State Strategy. So the money's there. I think they are confirming a date over the summer. That's just what I've heard from Nina. So essentially, it's been funded already. It just now has to be. They just need to put pen to paper. And in terms of logistics of where it will go, obviously it wouldn't really be down to me. It would be down to kind of Kent Sport University, but obviously the obvious answer will probably be around the Parkwood area. There's a huge amount of fields behind where, like, the pavilion and like the 3G pitches are. There's like some trees there, but then there's massive fields which university own. They do need to flatten the land, but that's probably one of the best areas that you could go.
Cool. A big thing every year is varsity. I take it you've competed in matches before. What would you suggest to make it bigger or to improve it on the past couple of years that you've been part of it?
So to improve it, especially on this year, is essentially just widen out the timescale of the event. On the Monday night we had football, lacrosse and hockey all playing at the same time. So you get to pick and choose who you had to go watch. Considering they're like three of the biggest matches as well at varsity, and also those playing had essentially smaller crowds than they could have had if the event was more spread out. So that'll be one of the first things I do, as well as with like KTV and Inquire coverage, getting members of the club that are playing to help with the coverage. So say like if they're doing commentary on CSR or with KTV. Say if you went along to a rugby game and you asked to commentate, you wouldn't know what our names were. You'd have like a list of names and numbers, and you have to keep referring to that. So like your commentary wouldn't be as fluid, whereas the members know who they are, they know the sport very well. To get them involved will essentially increase the quality of the coverage. So, and hopefully get all the games filmed as well. So obviously we wouldn't be able to broadcast them all live because of, say like with rugby, we're down at County Rugby Club, there's not really a good Wi-Fi signal there. but just so that the players can look back at it, just for essentially a keepsake, but also to analyse their performance as well.
Cool. You want to, I've read on your manifesto that you want to put in a recovery fund for physio, access to physio for, I take it, injured sports players. How would you sort of implement that, and can you explain a bit more about what your idea is?
Okay, so first of all, the idea, the recovery fund would be essentially each sports club would be allocated a certain amount of money to basically, it'd be kind of, the funding will depend upon the risk of injury playing that sport. So essentially playing American football, like a high impact sport, you're more likely to get injured than playing, say, tennis. As well as obviously American football having more members than tennis as well. So obviously American football will be allocated slightly more money. But essentially we allocated a lump sum of money at the start of the year, which they're allowed to spend on their members for physio alone at the university gym. Because obviously some people say, oh, why don't you just get us like free physio instead? But obviously Kent Sport are a commercial company, they're not actually with the union. So I can't just go over there and be like, oh, can you make this free for us? Because they're there to make a profit, not to serve us essentially. And then, so say if you were playing tennis and you got injured, you could go to your president or your captain and be like, hi, I picked up this injury playing tennis. Is it okay if you subsidise or pay for my physio? And then they'd allocate you however much money to go towards your £30 physio session at the gym. In terms of where the money would come from, that would be the university-wide sponsor. So say if we got £150,000 from KPMG, £100,000 would go into the sports clubs equally, and then the other £50,000 would go into things like the recovery fund and stuff like that.
If you only managed to do one of your manifesto points in the space of the year, what would be the one that you'd really want to do?
So as sports VP, although I'm here to look after all the students, probably the main thing which would affect everyone and the sports clubs would be increasing funding. There's a reason why teams like, say, a football team like Manchester City wins the Premier League. It's because they have more money than other people. Essentially, money makes the world go round. If sports clubs have more money, it means it'll be cheaper to join that sports club, so make it more accessible for every student. But also, when they have more money, they'll be able to invest in better equipment, high quality coach, so their performance will go up as well. So,
cool.
Always money.